Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'll walk you through the visuals I've developed for Chinook, our digital media store. So after days of hard work, creating tables, segmenting customers, performing market basket analysis, we're finally here, ready to dive into the final analysis and visuals. Chinook is a digital store that sells tracks and albums from a variety of contemporary artists across different genres, including rock, pop, jazz, and more. And they've asked that we investigate their sales and customer activity from between 2009 to 2013. So we're going to be focusing on the top selling artists, that's finding artists with the highest sales and exploring their sales trend. So we'll also look at the customer purchase patterns and segmenting customers by purchase behavior and then identifying high value customers. And we'll look at the genre popularity, that's the top selling genre, and we'll also look at the sales over time. We'll look at the customer lifetime value, that's calculating the CLV based on the purchase history and offering insights for better retention strategies. And finally, we'll look at the market basket analysis. We're going to uncover common combinations of tracks or albums bought together. So our goal is to help Chinook boost their sales and then improve their customer retention by leveraging insights from the CLV, the customer segmentation, and then or the purchase behavior of the customers. So just to recap, we've already created tables, key tables from SQL as CSV files. And there we have, about 5 tables that we have created, which includes the artist album tables. Remember that the artist album table is the transaction table which contains the complete sales details. We have the customer lifetime value table, we have the customer segmentation table, and then we have the market basket analysis tables for tracks and albums. So now let's go into Power BI and create our visuals. So we're going to upload all these tables into Power BI and dive into our analysis. I'll see you in Power BI. The first thing to do is to open the Power BI desktop, which I've opened already. So this is the Power BI desktop. I'm going to start a blank report. And here, once our report opens, I'm going to import my data to get data, our CSV file. So I'm going to click on CSV. So these are all the tables that we need. We have the artist album table. I'm going to upload that first. So it's going to ask me if I want to load the data or I want to transform. So I just pick load for now. We're going to do a little bit of transformation with it, but let's just load it first. So once it's fully loaded, it will be here under our data on the right hand side. So we're going to upload the other tables in the same way. They are all CSV files. So the next table I will upload is the customer lifetime value. So we uploaded the last file. Now the first thing that I want to do is the transformation that I did, because if we look there, okay, on this side, this is where you view all your tables. On the market basket, on the artist album table, I want to I want the address. I want the proper data types, or I want to categorize the address, the city, and all this. I want them to be properly categorized first. So here I go here and say, well, don't summarize. Then I'm going to pick address to let Power BI know that this is an address. I'll do the same thing for city and say this is the column for city. Same thing for states. So don't summarize and then pick state or province. Then for country as well. And finally for billing code. This is important when we are plotting our geographic location for each customer. So this is the postal code. So the right data type is there is text. So all the data types are correct. You have to ensure that the data types are correct. For date is date time. All these whole numbers, customer ID is also a whole number, and on like that. But these are all okay. Now another thing we look at is under the billing postal code. We can see that there are some postal codes that are missing. If we plot our geographic graphs with this postal code, some locations will be missing from the graph, so it won't be a proper representation of all the customers. So what I did was to go to Google. I used the country, the city, and the billing address to find the postal code for each of the missing ones. And then after I've done that, I went to transform data. So once you get to transform data, what I want to do is I want to create a new column. It's going to be a custom column so that I can add all the missing values from but I can't add it directly. So what I did was to create a new postal code column and then add those new values using some command code. So we'll just go and say add custom column. So this is the code that we're saying if billing city is Lisbon, yes, if billing city is Porto, billing city is San Diego, billing city is Dublin, and then else billing postal code, else billing. So why am I still having this? Okay. Okay, so we've created a custom column. So here we're going to now delete the so we see that all the empty billing codes have been filled. We compare, let me move it there. So if we compare, we see that this we're missing. That's DO20 A529. And that's for the Dublin postal code. Here too. I think this is Santiago. Yeah, correct. Santiago. So we filled it. And if we keep looking down, Portugal, maybe, and Santiago, more of Santiago here. So we basically filled all the missing postal codes. So we don't need this column anymore. Let me just copy the name and then I can just delete it. So we're going to remove that column and then we'll rename this one. So before we leave here, if we look at the billing country, if we filter the billing country, we see that here all the other countries are written in full, but USA is written as USA, is abbreviated. So we're going to change that. So we'll just click on the column, replace values to bring out the dialog box. So what we want to replace is we want to look for USA. I want to replace it with United States of America, and that's it. And see that all the steps that we perform is being recorded here. So if you want to change anything, you can just go back. So, well, I don't take time to save, but you can save because once you close, it's going to ask you if. So, well, I haven't even saved the document. So, once I close, it asks me if I want to save, and yes. So, this is what you call the Power Query in Power BI. All right. So now we have done the transformations that we need. If we click the drop down, we'll see that we have all our tables on in the, oh, okay, yes, we have to go update the billing postal code again because we changed it. So we'll have to let Power BI know that it is for postal code so that when we plot our graph, it will recognize it as such. So we'll go back to construct our. So the first thing we want to do is, so I will just show a couple of graphs and then I'll take you back to the one I've already done. I will just look through. So for top selling artists, we can use, so once you want to use any graph, you just click on it. And then on this side, you now put in the X and Y axis. So we want to see the top selling artist. So if we want to see the top selling artist, that means that we want to see the artist's name and then the total amount sold. So those are the two things we are plotting against. I normally like to use this type of bar chart so that if we look at it now, we have Iron Maiden as the top selling artist, followed by U2, and then by Metallica. So if you want to show the sales trend, well, if you want to show trend, it's like you're saying that you want to show how sales was done over a specific period of time. So for you to show that, you can use a line chart. And what you want to show is, period. So that means you need the date. So we're using the invoice date. And then you need the total sales for that period because you want to find out how sales was done for that period. So we click the sales. So if we look at, the total amount rather. So if we look at this graph now, we have under here, you see what you call the date is broken down into the year, the quarter, the month, and the day. I think it will be too much to show the days. So you can show the month, the year, and the quarter. So for the years, we see that from 2009, the total sale amount was 449, then it grew to 481, dropped in 2011, grew again in 2012, and then dropped in 2013. So now if we want to see the sales for Iron Maiden, for instance, if we click on Iron Maiden, the sales pattern for Iron Maiden, so that means that in 2009, a total of 33.66 was sold. Then in 2010, 34.65. So you can see how the sales trend went. So 0.99 sold in 2011, and then it rose again in 2012 to 33.66, and then in 2013, 35.64. So that's for Iron Maiden. So, but if you want to look at the overall sales pattern for all the artists, that's what we have here now. If we want to restrict the number of artists to maybe the top 20 or the top 15, you have to click on the graph where on the graph showing the top artists, and then you go to the filter side. So on the artist name, you will click on this arrow, and instead of choosing basic filtering, we're going to choose top N. So now we want maybe top 20. And on what basis? What field do you want it to filter on? I want it to filter on the total amount, and then we apply that. So that means that our graph will only show us the top 20 artists. So that's a form of filtering, that you want to see only the top 20 artists, or you want to see only the top 10. And then you can now see how sales, the sales pattern for maybe the top 20 or the top 10 artists. So this is for the artist. So each page is a report page. So this is the first report page. You can rename your report page. You can rename this by double clicking, and then let's say this is top selling artists. It kind of like reminds you of Excel. Well, basically. So now you want to open another report page. You just click on the plus. This time around, we want to see the customer segmentation. So to see the customer segmentation or the purchase behavior of customers, so we go to the customer lifetime. Can you, for instance, now I want to see the customers against the lifetime. This is the lifetime value. So I'm going to use the stack bar chart again. I want to see the purchase and the lifetime value for each customer. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to click value. No, it's going to be in the x-axis. And we want the sum, not the count, so that we can see the lifetime value for each of the customers. That's for Hog O'Reilly is 216.76, and then it goes down like that. There's the modeling side of Power BI where you create a relationship between each of the tables that we have uploaded. So this is our main table. Power BI already created a relationship for us based on the columns. So, but now I want to connect this table with this. The customer lifetime value table has already been connected to the customer segmentation table using the customer ID. I want to connect the artist album as well. So we're going to like manage relationship. This one, let me first of all remove this relationship. Let's delete this relationship. So those are relationships that it auto detected. It's just you have to create relationship for your tables to be able to communicate with each other. That's the whole essence of creating a relationship. So for artist album, I want to create a relationship between the artist album and the customer segmentation table first. So the common column to them is the customer ID. So for artist album, this is the customer ID. Then for customer segmentation, also the customer ID. So it's a menu to one, and I save. So it creates a relationship between them. So these two, I don't need to link them. It's just these three tables that I need to link. So customer table. So we can change the name to lifetime value. If we go to January, open another, and then we want to do the January popularity. So this time around, we are picking the January and the total amount. So here we're able to see the top selling artists, the top selling genre for all the tracks that were sold. We can also create another table for the sales of each media. So because we have the media type there, so we can create this the media type. So we want to know the highest selling media type. So we can also plot that. So if we do that, we see that MPEG or MPEG audio file is the highest selling media type. So we can also create the same table that we created here. So rather than creating the table, I'll just copy it. If you want to copy, you click on the graph or the visual and click on copy in the home menu. Go to the page where you want to paste the item, the visual, and then click on paste so that it pastes it here. Because basically what we need to see is we want to see the sales of this each of the genre over the period of time. So if we click at rock, we see how rock was sold. We see that in 2009, 178.2 was sold. It will go down to 2010, it reduced to 155, and then on like that. We can also drill down by months. We can drill down by months. We can drill down by so if we drill by month, or this is for quarter, we see that the quarter where rock was sold most is in the third quarter. So does this indicate a seasonal sale? And then in the last quarter, the sale of rock dropped. So we can also still drill down to the months to see the specific sales for each month. We see that in January, this was the sale. It went up in February, came down in March, and increased in April, increased further in May. And, so this just generally gives an overview of, the sales according to each specific period of the year. So it would help the marketing department to determine which kind of marketing promotions to put in place for each period. So we can do that for Latin for each of the January, and then the total January, the sales per month. We can see how sales was for quarter, and we can see how it was for the year. So now we can also change the name to January, or January popularity, whatever you want to call the report. So if we click on the next report page, this time we want to see the segmentation. So for segments, let's use a pie chart to show the different segments by the sales amount. So we want to see the segments, and then we want to see the total amount. So what each segment contributed to total sales, we see that 68.9% of the customers, I mean, the loyal customers contributed 68.9% to the total sales. The customers that are at risk, even though they are at risk, they still contributed 12.81%. The customers that are new customers contributed quite an amount to 9.91%. The hibernating customers, even though they are not buying as often as, they've not bought in a while, they contribute 6.42. And then the best customers is 1.96. So, which means that the company has to put in place promotions that would encourage the loyal customers to become best customers, take their at risk and hibernating new customers, to the levels where they become loyal customers and then best customers. So, this is sales by, this is the segments by the total sales. Then we can also do a lot more analysis with this segment, which I will show you in my in the graph that I've also already done. This is for segmentation. We just changed the name. And then we can now go to do market basket. So now for market basket, we're going to use the clustered bar chart, because now we want to see tracks that are bought together, and then the confidence support and lift for each. So we'll pick the second basket. We pick the support, the confidence, and the lift. Now we want to create the initial basket. So for the initial basket, I'm going to use a slicer, and then we're going to click on initial basket. So I want this to be drop down. So we change it to drop down. So when I click on just starting over, these are all the tracks that were bought with just starting over. And for each track, we can see the support, the confidence, and the lift with starting over, just like starting over. So a lift of 19.84, which is definitely greater than 1, shows that there's a positive association between just like starting over that track and Ferris wheel boots. And then the confidence shows that there's a 100% certainty that when starting over is bought, Ferris wheel boots will also be bought. But I think the support is 0.05. So the support of 0.05, I want it to show, yes, 0.05 is an indication that 0.05% of all sales contains a combination of starting over and Ferris wheel boots. So the same thing, the same way you look at fill it. So the fill it too also is 0.05% of the transactions will include a pair of starting over and fill it. And then the 100% indicates that there's a 100% chance that when the just like starting over is purchased, then fill it will also be bought. So that's what the 100% confidence shows. And then for the lift is also 19.84, which shows that they have a positive relationship. So that means that the presence of, just like starting over in the basket, increases the likelihood that fillet will also be bought. So the same way, you can now start looking at each of the items. You can do for untitled. Untitled is often bought with nothing to say. So the same rules. This is 0.05 as well. The confidence is also 100. The sum of the lift is 19.84. So that's for tracks. We can also change the market basket and say market basket for track. So this is just basically just how to construct, your visuals from scratch. So we can also format the visuals. So for this now, I don't want it to show sum of confidence, da 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 da. I want it to, so I can go here to, this is the y-axis. So we can change the colors of the values. I want the colors of the values to be blue. It would automatically change to blue. So you can see here that it is now nothing to say, it's now blue. This is for the y-axis. I want to change for the x-axis. Okay, then the title for the y-axis, I don't want it to be written as second basket. I want to say, or written together, I can just say second basket. You can see that it has changed it here. So I can also do it here as well. Just double click and second basket. Can do it there as well. So that means that I won't touch it here. That means that I won't touch the title here. I'll just, okay, the title has to be displayed. But that means that I won't change the title here. If I want it to be automatic, that's to pick this title. Okay, I guess because I've already edited that, so we can go back to making it auto. But basically, you can edit it at the front. You can change the title at the front. I'll do for the x-axis here. So let's say this is second basket. So we just leave it as that. We can change the color of the title as well. Can change it. This is already black. Can change it to any color. The same thing with the x-axis. We can change the value, the color of the values. We can also use blue, like we did for. So you can see that the values have changed. The color of the values have changed. X-axis, I want the title to be support confidence and lift. Okay, so we can do that. Then we can change the color as well. We change the color to blue. Okay, did I change the color for that? I didn't change it to blue. It has to be uniform. So whatever you use in the, so that means that then we can move the legend. We can move the legend to top center so that it's in the middle. We can change this title. You can change it under general. You just go to title and say, what name do you want to call your graph? So you can call it maybe second basket or something. And then you can change the color. You can make it blue. We can change the whole of this background. You can change the background for, so we just go to effects. The color there is white now. We can change it to gray. So that's how to format. You can also, we can change the toolkit. The toolkit is this box that comes up when we place our cursor on the bar. So we can change the toolkit. We can change the background of the toolkit. Maybe we want to change it to gray. See that it is now gray. We can change the text as well. So we can change the text here, maybe to white. Then the value color too, we can change it maybe to white. So we can do a lot of things with our bar chart. If we want it to be shadowed, we can do that as well. That kind of gives it, pushes it out and gives it some boost. We can put a visual, which is the line, the visual border. We can also come here and what was I going to do now? Change the colors of the bars, these bars. We can change the color. So you just, for support, what color do you want it to be? It's blue right now. Maybe you want to change it to purple. So support changes to purple. Then we want to change the one for confidence. Confidence is blue now. Maybe we want to change it to a lighter shade of purple. And then for the lift as well, we want to change it. So you must have a color scheme in mind before you start. So you can change the color for that as well. Maybe let's do another purple. So that is purple up. So we can change that. You can reduce and increase the size of the graph of the charts by moving the edges. And then for more visual effects, you can insert no, not a text box. We can insert shapes to give it more definition. We can move this here. Now I want to reduce the edges of the shape. It's too curved. Let's see. It's like that. We can move our chart onto it and make sure that you bring it forward so that it doesn't. So now you have to blend the colors and all that. So basically, those are the things that you can do with um, Power BI in when creating your charts and all that. So now I'm going to take you to the chart that I'd already done, the project. So this is my project. I have an home page. So on the home page, this is just like a description of the reports that we are looking at. So I have an objective, which is I created the logo for the digital store. And then the objective is to report of the report is to analyze the sales performance, customer purchase pattern, segmentation, customer lifetime value, market basket, and for Chinook digital media store. I have a navigation page so that with control and click, it takes me to the dashboard. So now the dashboard basically just shows a highlight of all the other pages. I just picked major highlights that I feel would interest the customer immediately. So now I have my KPIs, which are the total sales. So these are just the key metrics that I feel that the customer should see immediately they look at my report. So the total sales for the period in the period that we're analyzing. And then this is the total number of tracks that were sold. That's 1984. This is the total number of transactions, the total albums. So this basically shows that majority or practically the business records in tracks rather than in albums. And then we have 165. They sell more in tracks. They sell in tracks than in albums. And then we have the total number of artists that they carry their work, then the total number of customers, and then the total number of genre. So here we also see the sales trend. So this is the sales trend for the quarter. This is if we drill down, we'll see the sales trend for the month, and we see that the sales trend is relatively even throughout the month. So if I convert that into a bar chart for us to see, we see how very close the sales is. We see how very close the sales is for each month. So there is no indication of seasonality at all in this sales. If I go up, we see that the quarter is practically the same. The highest sales is recorded in the second quarter, unlike which is even very close to other quarters of the year. And then we can also drill by year. So we can drill for 2009. This is how the sales look for oh, sorry. So for 2009, this is how it looks per quarter. For 2010, this is how it looks. It drops in 2010. So this is 143 and 112 for each quarter. And the highest sales was in the first quarter of 2010. If we look at 2011, We see how sales was per quarter as well. So you notice that when I move my when I change the years, it also affects all this the tables for the top artists and the top customers. It also affects the sales by January. So we can also come here and see the artists that perform the best. So we can see that artists that perform the best were Iron Maiden, U2, Metallica, and those are rock artists. So this kind of correlates with what we have here, that the top selling genre is rock. And then we look at the customers, we can also easily see the top 20. So we can also see the top selling we can also see the top 20 customers, and we can see that their sales, that whatever they bought, I mean, the total sales amount is relatively close, which is an indication that, the customers buy, it's not necessarily, by volume. They buy, it's the frequency of the purchase that really matters to the business and not by volume. Because, I mean, looking at the price of it kind of indicates that what they sell are not high priced items. So we can click on each customer and we'll see the sales pattern for each of the customers. We see the items or the artists that the customers buy most. So we also see the periods of, purchase by each customer. So this helps to drill down on the activities of each of the customers, at least the top customers. So I also have a navigation on the dashboard, so we can go to different pages. So on the top artist page, this is the sales pattern, and then this is the top selling artists, then the album sales. So these are the top selling albums. These are the top selling artists. If we click on Iron Maiden, we'll see the purchase pattern for Iron Maiden per quarter. We can drill down to purchase per month for Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden is an artist, so these are some of the albums from Iron Maiden. The X Factor is part of. So these are all albums by Iron Maiden. So we can see the the sales amount for these albums as well. And then we can also drill according to the years. So if we want to see the pattern for 2009, we see that in 2009, the top selling artists were U2, Iron Maiden, Lost, Metallica. And then we see how the sales for 2009 for these artists and the albums also went. We can do the same thing for 2010. We can do the same for 2011. We can drill down to the months as well. Oh, that was months. So for quarter as well, so that we see which quarter was the best performing quarter for each year. So we can also navigate to the next page with this arrow. So we want to go to the segmentation page. So on the segmentation page, we have the geographic distribution of all the customers. So if we want to see, for instance, we want to see the customers in Canada. So these are the customers in Canada. And then we can see how the performance of all this, the segments of the customers in Canada and their performance. We see that 87.62%, I mean, the customers in Canada are mostly loyal customers, and they contributed 87.62%. The loyal customers contributed 87.62%. And then the hibernating customers, they have hibernating customers as well that contributed 12.38% in Canada. So we can also see the top performing customers here. So here it's a chart. I represented the top performing customers with a chart here, a stacked chart, and but on the dashboard I represented the top customers with a table. So here we also see this is a graph of the segments against the customers. So here we just want to know how many customers are loyal customers, how many of them are hibernating, how many are at risk. So we can see here that for the period, we have just one best customer, four hibernating, six new customers, seven at risk, and 41 loyal customers. So that means their customer base is relatively stable and strong. And then we see in the segmentation that 68.9%, the loyal customers contributed 68.9% to the total sales, while the at-risk customers contributed 12.81. So this is still a considerably good number. And then the new customers contributed 9.91 and on and on. So this is just the recency against the monetary value. So the recency and then the monetary, we see that we see for recency, this is for recency of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and now, and then monetary 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and now, and then we say that three customers have a recency and monetary of one, which is actually the best. That means that they purchased recently and they also spend the highest volume in terms of amounts. So recency of 2, 1, we see. So continuously, we're able to categorize. So we're able to split the total number of customers according to how recently and the amount of money they spent. So that is what this table does. And then the geographic, I've already talked about the geographic distribution. So we can now go to the genre. For genre popularity, we also have the sales trend. So this table is basically to compare the sales of genre for each year at one glance so that we know the performance of each of the genre for the period, particularly the top, performing genre. So if we look at this is for rock, we see that the performance in 2009 they did 178, and then it drops in 2010. In 2010 it was 155. It increases a little in 2011. It also increases again in 2012, and then in 2013 it increases. So it's 174.24 here and 178. So that means that the performance dropped, with the years, even though it increases again in 174, but it's still less than, what was done in 2009. So we want to see exactly what they did right in 2009 and what they were doing wrong in terms of marketing and sales promotion in the subsequent years that they can improve on in the I mean in that they can improve on in subsequent years. So this is just for the media type. And for media type, we have the top performing and then followed by. So that means most of the media that was bought was in this format. So this is the performance in quantity sold. We see that the top performing was rock, Latin metal, and alternative punk, while the least performing were science fiction, rock and roll, and comedies. So attention can be given to genres that didn't perform as well as the top ones. And then we can now go to lifetime value. So for lifetime value, we did the customer lifetime value and the segment. So the segments we see the performance of the lifetime value for each segment. So for loyal customer is 6,004, for at risk is 1.1, which is still high. And then new customer 0.8, then hibernating 0.5, and 216 for best customer. So we also see the performance of each customer, you know, based on their customer lifetime value and their segments. Then we can also move to the market basket. So for market basket, as previously explained, once you click on the initial basket, all the items that were in the same basket with it would show up like running fee. So we can now see confidence and lift, and then the support. So the confidence, we will now really just, base decisions on the confidence and the lift. So the confidence for this is 33.33%, while the lift is 6.61, which is high. So these items can be paired maybe for promotions. They can be placed close to each other for customers to easily find them so that they can buy them together. So it's the same thing for all this. And then for market basket for so it's the same thing with market basket for artists as well. We see all the albums that were bought together. So if you click on Black Light Syndrome, we see all the albums that were bought with black light line. And then this part is the frequency of purchase. Before I forget to mention, so this is just the frequency of the purchase of these items with each other. For instance, how many times was Blacklight Syndrome and Live Disc One bought together? 4 times. How many times was Blacklight Syndrome and Core bought together? That's 3 times. How many times was Blacklight Syndrome and Live Disc Two bought together? 3 times. So it gives a frequency of each product. Each combination. How often was, how often is it that when a customer buys Blacklight Syndrome, they also bought Live Disc? That's 3 times. So that's what the frequency represents. So based on all this, so this can take me back to the dashboard. So here I also have the MBA for track here on the dashboard, so that we can easily peer. So for Emenina Danka was bought with Acura, so 100% confidence, 19.84% of lift. So these two can be paired and they can be placed by side. So if I want to now go back to my own page, so here, so there are some recommendations that I would make. So looking at the sales trend holistically, it's important for the company to investigate what causes the fluctuation in sales between 2009 and 2013, so that they can actually create promotions that can, shift the market. Then also, from the insight gained from the top performing analysts, the top performing artists in the company are doing well. The company should consider focusing on artists that are lower down the list and target marketing push or feature their music in playlists, which will help to boost their sales. They should also consider targeted promotions for albums that show a trend over a specific period or season to maximize the sales. They can monitor high value customers, and this will help them to understand their behavior and preferences, you know, based on all the analysis that has been done. They can look at smaller numbers from at risk and new and hibernating customers so that they can focus on re engaging them. And they can focus strategies on how to also convert their new customers into loyal customers. They should also consider to increasing sales from the best customers, because they are very few but might have a higher average spend. Then consistency of monthly sales throughout the year is an indication of a stable purchasing pattern without strong seasonality. So this can help them for inventory control, and then it can also help them to minimize the risk of overstocking or stockouts. They can have a more balanced distribution of marketing efforts throughout the year rather than also concentrating on specific seasons. And instead of targeting their seasonal promotions, they can focus on more value driven campaigns like brand loyalty and evergreen contents that aligns with steady demand. Then with the market basket, as already explained, they can use peers with high confidence to cross sell and suggest bundles for during checkout. The same thing with albums with high lift. they can use that to, bundle items for them to be bought together. So those are some of the recommendations that I would give to Chinook to improve their sales and customer retention. So thank you for coming on this journey with me. So far, it's been a journey of about, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it has finally come to an end. So I'll see you again on the next project. Please remember to subscribe and drop your comments in the comment section. Thank you.